Good morning, and welcome to another Semen Retention Sunday episode here on the Regal Change account. And to all of the Regal alchemists, the Regal wizards, and the Regal men that are full Sakians out there, we are on our comeback arc, and it is powered by the soul of existence. It's powered by God, because we're the type of men. We are, as full Sakian men, we are the type of men who these beta cucks who gather together, who have to go like hyenas in flocks to take down the singular lion, who is us. We're the full Sakian lion. We're the ones that they try to drop off somewhere deep in the mountains. Leave us for the bears and the cougars and all the other whatever in the mountains to fight to the death. And all of a sudden, we show back up at their place with nunchucks and some lemon tea. And we say unto them, "Hello, faggots. What have you been up to? Miss me?" And then we go into attack mode, baby. We go into attack mode because this is our time. This is our moment to come back and to live the truth in the spirit of the time, because these people, look, I'm not necessarily one to be inclined to revenge. I'm not a revenge type of a person. I don't adhere to that. If you want to, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. But me personally, I'm not about revenge, but I am very interested in justice. Now, I know that I don't always have to be the one to carry that justice, that them being who they are is going to be the punishment sometimes. Now, I'm not really adhering to the sense that punishing people is even necessary all the time. I don't think punishment really exists to the soul of existence. Punishment, it's all about a matter of semantics, really. But on semen retention, this is the time to grab your nunchucks and your full sack and to move forth into the domain of the valley of the shadow of death, and to move forth nonetheless. Because these people, it's not just the beta cucks, it's the Jezebel, SLUTs, it's the bonely cans women, it's the society, the matrix, the simulation, Maya, whatever you want to call it at large. It's all of these things that are at a point where if we don't come back and make our own comeback, we are going to die. Maybe not physically, but spiritually we will die before we're even dead physically. And with semen retention, you have the power to reclaim that which is rightfully yours. You see, even the wind is like, come on, man. Come on. I might have to move this inside if it continues to get super windy. But nonetheless, the most important aspect of semen retention in the spirit of the time is, what are you actually doing it for? And why are you actually doing it? Are you really wanting to be closer to the soul of existence? Or are you actually a depleted coomer who's acting like they're quote-unquote a full Sakian or an alpha dude or whatever the case is? And look, let's not get too attached to these titles, but if you're out there and you're just acting like, well, I want the women and I want the money, those things will come. They will. No pun intended. But they will come. And all you have to do is focus on that which you want to be, that who you want to be. It's better to become the person that you want to be than to worship anything outside of yourself. It's better to be the best version of yourself at all times. Even when you're in the most down in the dirt, down in the dumps, you've been thrown away to the mountainside by these beta cucks, these hyenas that will try to only laugh at you. But that's when you take back what is yours. You grab your nunchucks, you grab your whatever you need, whatever weapon you have. I like nunchucks and bow staffs. I used to do martial arts, and the bow staff was my favorite weapon to practice with. And man, I got pretty good at it. There was a lot of different types of forms that we would do with bow staffs. The nunchucks were my second favorite, and I really like nunchucks. These are technically just practice nunchucks, because real nunchucks, they'd have the chain on them, rather than just the rope. But nonetheless, they do the job. And I definitely enjoy how our comeback as full Sakians is going to be simply, for the most part, just reclaiming our energy and stopping our outsourcing of power to these Jezebel SLUTs and all of these, cucks, all these depleted Coomers that worship the Pink Palace. It's so crazy when you get to a point in which you start to see, like yesterday I was on a call with somebody, and I told this person, I said, look, sounds to me like you're in a predicament like this. Suppose that you had a game to play, and in the entire world, there's one leaf on a tree that if you find this leaf, it's going to give you everything that you want. It's going to give you status, it's going to give you power, it's going to give you money, it's going to give you luxury, whatever you want, it's going to be there. But there's also an identical leaf. There's an identical leaf that if you find it, it's going to be game over for you. You're no longer going to be able to live in this incarnation, so to speak, right? And what do you want to do? Are you going to go search for the leaf or not? Now, the third option is to just not search for the leaf. Of course. That's the third option. But, again, you can do whatever you want to do. You can go for it. There's no wrong way to go. The human condition is so beyond what we think it's supposed to be. And it's really not so black and white, and yet at the same time it's very black and white. People get upset because they want very clear goals. They want very clear morals. Because that way they know exactly how to behave. They don't have to figure it out. They can just have somebody tell them what to do. And while there's a time and a place for mentorship, like for example, I don't consider myself necessarily I'm not a teacher, okay, but I do have a godlike mastery offer for individuals that want to make that full financial and spiritual and self-commitment to themselves. It's a system to help them get out of systems. And then I have the Regal Academy. In the Regal Academy, we have classes. I just relaunched the Art of Seduction class that goes over Robert Greene's book. And I'm not even saying that I'm like a super hyper, intellectual person anymore. I've read a lot. And I have, a lot of information stored up here. But I don't necessarily call myself an intellectual. I don't consider myself like a scholar or anything of the sorts. But I do have a lot of godlike mastery education to just be. And so that's what I am. I'm the godlike mastery education. I'm not the educator. I'm not the teacher. I'm not the mentor. I'm just the godlike mastery education. With my nunchucks and my lemon tea. That's all that it is. I'm just a being. I'm just a being trying to make the world a better place. I'm trying to encourage men, specifically on this channel, to stop giving their energy to these hoes. Because that's what they are. They've chosen this. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying that that's what they've chosen to be. They've chosen to embody certain actions that make them that way. So why would I ever want to consider that type of woman for my children, my unborn children? Now you might think about or say, for all the Christians that watch this type of stuff, well, what about Hosea? Well, what about him? Sorry, I'm not Hosea. I don't really aspire. I think that I get the message of Hosea loud and clear. Man, I might have to go inside. This wind is crazy. It's not even like it's blue sky. There's I don't know, it's very strange. It wasn't like this earlier, because it's still pretty early in the morning, but the wind usually dies down later in the day where we're at, but it's not usually as bad. I trust that the sound is still okay for you guys. But, there we go. So, nonetheless, I encourage young men and men of all ages, really, to just take back and make their comeback, powered by the soul of existence. Because I see us all as one being expressing itself in different forms. And I see the beloved in everyone and everything. But I don't get too hung up on it. I don't get too hung up about it, and I don't get too hung up on it. Because to do so would put myself in a precarious position in which... Okay, we're gonna go inside. Essentially what I want to get across is Aristotle's praxis, which is action is its own reward. And with everybody that is still familiar with the Regal timeline theory, then you are, the Regal Change old timers will know about this, then you will be aware that to be on sovereign timelines, to exist in sovereignty, to live the truth and let die what is false, it means to be more responsible for your own decisions. Because although we can't really fathom the complexity of our predicament, we can choose what we do with our predicament. And that in of itself is very powerful. It kind of reminds me what Gandalf says to Frodo when Frodo is like, I don't want the ring. I wish the ring never came to me. I wish none of this would have happened. And Gandalf says, well, so do all who live to see such times, but that's not for them to decide. All that we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given unto us. And there's so much truth in that, because we don't always have, like, our predicament is this as full Sakians. Our predicament is this. We live in a society where men are treated like second-class citizens. And if you have the audacity to encourage men not to be participating in these degenerate behaviors that are going to make them weak, it's going to make them broke internally and externally, and also you just encourage them to be strong, mentally have fortitude, and to be disciplined with lust, all of a sudden you're the bad guy. That's the society that we live in, and that's just the predicament. So how do you work with that? Well, me, myself, I've chosen semen retention and celibacy for a long time. It's been over 4 years for me on semen retention. Celibacy, in general, like, I haven't had an intimate person like that for 5+ years. And a lot of people will be like, oh, well, aren't you going through like a dry spell or whatever? And it's like, look, you're still in the matrix. Like, you're still in the simulation, man. You're still in Maya. You're still in the timeline of demons, because that's what the demons want. Demons want you on the timeline loop. They want you stuck, feeling like you can't get out. Because if you can't get out of the timeline loop, well, then that's when they have convinced you that you have nothing to do. Like, you are no longer the circumstance of your life. They convince you that, now they, I mean, I'm not saying it's like us and them, right? Because demons are basically, the way that I see it, these are either bodiless entities that have taken a hold of, incrementally, people and have captured the vessel of the individual, or they're just timelines or narrative structures themselves. Like, the demon is a narrative structure, and that's what the embodiment of that is we're all narrative structures to some degree. Like, if you say, oh, I'm so depressed, okay, that's a narrative structure that you're projecting into the symbolic narrative field. And then you're going to be that timeline. Okay, you're going to embody that timeline if you keep telling yourself that. Whereas if you say, ooh, I'm sovereign, strong, mentally disciplined, lustful, like I'm disciplined in my lust, whatever the case is, you're going to embody that through time, because that's the timeline that you're on now. But if you're oriented from timelessness, you recognize that you can simply just change your narrative structure at any time. You know, that's what it means to live in the 5-dimensional state of mind, is you're in the editing room of the movie production and the stage and the play, whatever it is you want to call it. You know, because this whole world is a stage. It's just a matter of how you see it. Exactly the point, though, right? Like, people in the audience, they're actually just as much a part of the play and the stage and the movie. Like, you ever been to the movies or you've seen a play? The audience is just as much a part of the experience and the event. This is one of the reasons why so many people in the audience of movies and plays and whatever, they're like, oh, I would love to be like, you know, that person on the screen or that person up there on the stage. I'd love to be that person. When in reality, and in the spirit of the time, in the form of reality that this is taken, the audience member is just as important as the people on the stage. Why? Because, well, there wouldn't be a stage, like there wouldn't be a play to be had if there weren't audiences. You know, it's the same type of thing. Like, you have to want to watch it. Like, it has to be worthy of watching. And so attention is important, but it's not necessarily the end all be all. But because we live in an observable based reality, if it's not seen, it doesn't really, quote unquote, exist. And when I say see, I don't mean see with the eyes, physical senses. I mean seen or experience, rather, is probably a better term for that. But semen retention will open you up for these deeper possibilities. And that's why we're going to come back. We're making our comeback. And we're not going to be stopped, because we have taken back our power. We have reclaimed and conquered that which is our own will and our own desires. And we conquer those things by letting go. It's not really a conquer as in like, oh, I have to go conquer this thing. It's a conquer as in, I am letting go of the idea of conquering so that I can conquer. And it's not even a condition. It's just simply that's what happens. Because to be in agape love, to be where Aristotle talks about this praxis where action is unto itself a virtue, and you know, it's its own means, basically. It's its own pleasure. You get to the point in which, as a full Sakian man, just having vitality is its own reward. So that's the most important aspect of this. So with all that being said, I trust that this message reached those that have eyes to see and ears to hear. Yeah, the wind was getting pretty insane, and I know that if I couldn't even hear myself really, then the probability of you hearing me out there was, I mean, that's a pretty big pattern convergence signal, honestly. We're talking about making a comeback and bada bing, bada boom, you know. Nature's like, yeah, we're really, the winds of change are here, man. The winds of change are here. So, peace be with you. Be blessed. Until next time.